Hey guys, I wanted to shine some light on why racing is more expensive in the United States than in Europe. So I've got a buddy at my local track here in Austin. His name's Danny Sufi. He's a 19-year-old kid. He's running prototypes in Europe. He said, I could go over there and run that for about $150,000. But in the United States, if I ran prototypes with IMSA, pretty sure the cost is nothing less than $1 million. So why is that? So I'm gonna tell you guys there's 3 reasons why racing is more expensive in the United States compared to Europe. Number 1, Europe is way smaller, so you have to travel way less to go to the tracks. I'm gonna break down why it's so expensive to travel here far distances in the US in a second. Now, number 2, a lot of the stuff we use is actually made in Europe. So to ship it from within Europe is way less than it is to ship it overseas and then have an importer that has warehouses and staff to manage all the inventory and sales. So that's why stuff like tires, Pirelli is made in Italy, but we've got to buy it through an importer here. So it's probably less expensive in Europe for that reason. And then number 3, we breed basketball players and football players here in the US. All of our marketing dollars encourages people to go those paths. And in Europe, they breed race car drivers.
I'm 4 years old and I race go-karts.
So when you have more people doing something, it drives the cost down because there's more people interested. There's more people who are going in those career paths to learn the skills. And so because there's just way more teams and way more skilled labor, that the cost just goes down in Europe because supply and demand. So I'm gonna break it down. You guys might've seen my video, 10 ways to go get into racing from $200 to $1 million. And I wanna break down what I do, which is Ginetta Challenge Racing, which I think is the best bang for the dollar. Performance-wise, the Ginetta performs equal to a GT4 car. And that would cost, a GT4 car would cost $250,000, but this thing's $120. It's also way less expensive to run compared to a GT4 car, and it's very reliable. On the Ginetta Challenge, we do 5 weekends. We're going to Virginia International Raceway, Watkins Glen, Barber, Indy Motor Speedway, and we just did Road Atlanta to start the year off in 2025. Amazing tracks. So it cost me about $20,000 to go to the last one. So the big cost, first of all, is in tires. We run 2 sets of Pirelli slicks. Those cost about $670 per tire for the rear and $630 per tire for the front, because they're different sizes, so they're different costs. More tires. So 2 sets of those together is $5,700, and by the time you pay taxes and you have to mount and unmount stuff, you know, I put $6,500 for tire costs. Now, the thing about the Ginetta Challenge is we're limited to 2 tires, so it keeps that cost down. If you had no limit, the Pirelli slick goes fastest on its 3rd lap. It degrades, any tire would degrade. It lasts a long time, but the peak performance, here's how the schedule goes, and here's how you could really maximize it. So we do a practice day on Thursday, where you do about 5 20-minute sessions of practice. Then Friday, you have a practice session and a qualification session. Then you have, oh, here comes my coach, Derek. Hello, Derek, how are we doing?
Very good. I can tell you, just doing some data review. Really nice job.
Thank you.
What we talked about yesterday, you executed perfectly. That was driving it like a pro.
Thank you.
You really drove well. So
thank you for the good coaching and good car. So there's the expense. We're not going to include that because it's optional to have a coach, but I highly recommend it. So then on Saturday, you have a qualification session and a race, and then on Sunday, you have a race. So each of those would be costs. You could use a brand new set of Pirelli slicks for each quali and each race if you wanted to do the absolute maximum performance possible. But if the problem is if everybody did that, the cost would go up to $12,000 for tires per weekend, but we cap it at $6,000 because you only use 2 sets. So the other cost would be this trailer and truck. So before I owned these assets, I actually rented a truck for $2,000, and then I would rent a trailer for $1,300. And so altogether, that's $3,300. Then I would pay somebody to drive it there, fly them back, and when the event was over, I'd fly them back again and pay them to drive it back home. The expense of that person, if you could imagine the airline and the costs, and then you also have fuel. So from Austin, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia for our last Ginetta Challenge race we just did, it was 1,900 miles and it was about $1,000 in diesel fuel because it gets 9 per gallon. I now own this. It's a $170,000 trailer and a $110,000 truck. And I have a person on staff, Susan, who drives it. And so I would put the value, if you didn't own these, to rent these things and get it there would be about $5,000 minimum. And that's you doing some legwork to find out where to rent it and find somebody to drive it. Now the car, it's $120,000. If you had somebody that would rent you a car, I would say a really great deal for a rental would be $4,000 for that weekend. And then I also flew my coach and I to the event, and I flew my girlfriend and my social media guy, Chris, as well. So I put $2,200 for airfare, and then lodging for 4 nights. We get an Airbnb, and that's about $2,200 per night as well. It's got 4 bedrooms. So me, my coach, my social media guy, my mechanic, my girlfriend, all in that Airbnb. And then food for everybody. We'll do Instacart, big grocery delivery. So that'll be our breakfasts and lunches every single day. And we have that in the Airbnb fridge, and we bring some in a cooler every day to the track. And then we go out to eat every night. So that would be about $1,000 for food for everybody. Those are some of the biggest costs of the actual weekend. I mentioned basically everything except for the track entry fee, which would be about $1,300. And then the practice day is, I think, $300 that they sometimes have at the beginning of a Friday through Sunday event. So all in all, this is the best bang for the dollar. It's an entry-level GT car, but it goes fast. It's a GT4 type performance, especially with those Pirelli slicks on there. And so that's the cost of doing the Ginetta Challenge. The cost would be less if we weren't going as far, but we're so spread out in the US, we got a lot of land to cover. And so that's why those costs go up about $6,000 minimum to get to one of those distant tracks and back. And you got to do legwork to find that person. The other thing I was going to mention is I had a quote from a race team, because I don't do it the most expensive you could do it. I had a quote from a race team before I put all this together for about $32,000 per weekend. And so I also raced against somebody, John Rudolph, who I think he drove the car on an aluminum trailer, open trailer on the back of his Jeep from Florida. And I think he wrenched on it himself. So you could be doing it less like John, and you could also be doing it more for the people that are paying a racing team. So you can really get into it for different costs, but the advantage of having somebody to spend more time on your car is you're already spending the time, the most valuable resource in the world, time, to get all this, to the track and for you to race there. So the worst thing that would happen is that your car breaks down or has a problem and you don't have somebody to fix it, right? That would be terrible. I had a minor incident in practice at Virginia International Raceway last year, and my crew, amazing crew, and my coach helped out with direction, put that car back together in 12 hours so I could race. And that was incredibly important because I actually flew my parents from St. Louis, Missouri to Virginia for that race, as well as myself and my coach paid to get the car there and stuff. So the worst thing ever is not being able to race. So that's why it's pretty important to make the investment in a crew that's capable of making those last minute adjustments, not only to make the car go fast, but to make repairs that may be needed that you might not expect. So there you have it. The cost of racing in the United States is more expensive than in Europe because when I was looking for teams, honestly, there was only one team, and I talked to like 10 teams in the region to help take me on the Ginetta Challenge. They were all booked up. So it's what I'm saying is in Europe, there's just way more people that are directed that way as a career path and that want to do it, so it drives the cost down when there's more supply. And so there you have it. If you guys want to learn more about racing in the United States, check out my video, 10 ways to get into racing, starting from $200 to $1 million. And you can learn more about those costs of racing in the United States. By the way, I'm super lucky to get to go racing. You might wonder, how do people get this money to go racing? I grew up in a 1,200 square foot house, and I had earned my own money through starting a business. So if you want to learn more about that, in the link in my YouTube, I've got an actual house flipping course because I cut my teeth getting into house flipping, and that would be a great resource for you guys that I provide for free to learn to earn your own money. It's really the only way if you don't have family money to get into racing. So with that, I'll see you guys on the next video, and leave me a comment if you tell me something you liked or want to see next.